All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to unpack a brilliant 11th century Indian folktale. Now, this story comes to us from the Katha Sarit Sagara, which beautifully translates to the ocean of the streams of story. It's a massive, incredibly famous collection of legends and fairy tales compiled by Somadeva. And what we're looking at today is a classic narrative about fortune, sudden wealth, and the absolutely devastating consequences of unchecked pride. It's an ancient story, sure, but honestly, the human psychology behind it is just as relevant to us right now as it was 1,000 years ago. So, here is the crucial point we're going to explore, and I want you to keep this in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer. What happens to good fortune when you simply cannot control your pride? I mean, we all love the idea of suddenly striking it rich or getting that one massive lucky break, right? But the real test isn't getting the fortune. It's how you handle it once you actually have it. Let's look at a man who found out the absolute hardest way possible.
Section 1. Meeting the Heavenly Yakshas and a Poor Woodcutter's Encounter in Pataliputra.
Our story kicks off with a man named Subhadata. He's a desperately poor woodcutter living in Pataliputra. One day, he's out cutting wood deep in the forest, and he stumbles upon 4 mysterious figures. Now, he didn't just run into a few wealthy travelers. He ran into yakshas. If you're not familiar with Hindu mythology, yakshas are heavenly beings. Think of them essentially as the divine security guards for the god's riches. Imagine being dead broke and accidentally bumping into the mythical keepers of all the wealth in the universe. Subhadata's legs are literally trembling with fear because he knows just one angry word from them could result in a completely devastating curse.
The contrast here is just staggering. On one side, you have Subhadata's reality. He's wearing torn clothes, he has a thin, starving body, and he is shaking with absolute terror. On the other side, the Yaksha's reality. They're draped in beautiful silk clothes, covered in shining jewelry, and just radiating divine magic. The power dynamic is completely lopsided. Poor Subhadata thinks he's about to be punished just for looking at them.
But surprise, surprise, the yakshas don't curse him. In fact, they look at his torn clothes and his starving frame, and they actually feel compassion. They make him an incredible offer. Work for us for 1 month. We will reward you well, and you will never be hungry again. Now, obviously, Subhadata is worried about his family starving while he's gone, but the yakshas have a magical solution for that too. They promise to send him to his wife in a dream that very night to tell her he's safe, and they promise that when she wakes up, she'll find money and clothes right by her side. With his family's survival completely guaranteed, Subhadata happily agrees to stick around and serve them. Section 2. A month of magical service, producing wealth out of nowhere.
Subhadata enters a reality he couldn't have even imagined. He's bathing in the river with these divine beings. He's helping them dress in luxurious silks that they literally pull out of thin air. He's setting out solid gold plates that they just conjure up using magic. But there's a little catch. There's no food. When he points this out to the yakshas, one of them just smiles. He hands him a beautiful pot and says, "Take this pot, put your hand inside and make a wish. Whatever you want will come out of it." Can you even imagine the sheer wonder of this moment for a starving woodcutter? Here's exactly how it played out on his very first try. He holds this beautiful pot, thinks of a warm, delicious palau, and reaches inside. Lo and behold, he pulls out perfectly cooked rice. His mind is racing now. Next, he thinks of rich meat, and boom, he pulls that out too. Then, a whole variety of other incredibly tasty dishes just appear right before him. He plates all this magical food on the solid gold dishes and serves his masters. The problem of hunger? Permanently solved in the most spectacular way possible.
Section 3. Choosing the Magic Pot, the Ultimate Reward.
So after a month of diligent service, the yakshas are very pleased. They tell Subhadata that his contract is up, and they offer him absolutely anything he desires as a reward. Anything. Subhadata doesn't even blink. He asks to keep the magic pot. But the yakshas hesitate. They give him a stark warning that changes everything. They tell him, if you break the pot, it will return to us. Ask for something else. See, they know human nature. They're warning him that this artifact comes with some severe strings attached. But Subhadata, he's stubborn. He insists he wants the pot and nothing else. So the yakshas grant his wish.
Talk about a whirlwind. The speed at which his life changes is just dizzying. Day 1, he's trembling in the forest, a starving woodcutter, terrified for his life. Weeks 1 through 4, he's comfortably serving heavenly beings, watching magic happen on a daily basis. Day 30, he boldly claims a divine artifact against the direct advice of gods, and by day 31, he returns home to his family an astonishingly rich man. It's a total 180-degree transformation of fortune.
Section 4. The Grand Feast, showing off the new fortune.
When Subhadatta finally gets home, his family is naturally overjoyed. He pulls beautiful clothes and shining jewels directly from the pot, and his wife and children are just wonderstruck. Now, Subhadatta is feeling generous, but he still has a tiny bit of common sense left at this point. He tells his wife, "Let us have a feast for all the neighbors, but don't tell them where the food comes from." He understands that this kind of magic makes him a massive target. So they invite 100 guests and serve them the absolute most luxurious, mouth-watering food anyone in the neighborhood has ever tasted.
But come on, you cannot throw a royal feast on a woodcutter's salary without raising some eyebrows, right? The tension builds when one of his guests finally drops the inevitable question, "You are just a poor woodcutter. Where did you get the money to buy such good food?" Now initially, Subhadatta just grins to himself and keeps his mouth shut. He's keenly aware that someone might try to steal his precious pot. But his neighbors? They are relentless. They keep asking, keep prodding, and keep pushing his ego.
Section 5. The Price of Pride, when boasting leads to ruin.
Subhadatta's ruin didn't happen by accident. No, it was a very specific sequence of poor choices driven entirely by pride. Let's break down the exact anatomy of this disaster. Step 1, he hosts an unnecessarily massive feast just to flaunt his wealth. Step 2, the neighbors, entirely predictably, get extremely curious and challenge his status. Step 3, completely unable to keep his ego in check, he caves in, brings the pot out, and boasts loudly about how his hard work earned him this ultimate gift from the Yakshas. And then, the absolute peak of foolishness. Step 4. He gets so carried away showing off that he actually starts dancing recklessly with a fragile, magical clay pot right in his hands.
And yep, the inevitable happens. Horror of horrors, the pot slips from his hand and breaks. Just imagine the sickening sound of that clay shattering all over the floor. Subhadatta drops to his knees in an absolute panic. He starts frantically trying to pick up the pieces, trying to fit them all back together. And for one agonizingly brief moment, the text tells us, everyone saw the whole pot completely assembled again, right before it vanished into thin air. Exactly as the Yakshas warned, the broken pot returned to them instantly. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is understanding exactly what destroyed Subhadatta. It wasn't bad luck. It was boasting, the very act of speaking with excessive pride and self-satisfaction about one's possessions. The pot wasn't stolen by jealous neighbors in the night. It was destroyed by Subhadatta's own overwhelming need to prove his importance to other people. His unchecked pride literally shattered his fortune.
The story leaves us with Subhadatta's incredibly painful realization. If only I had not been foolish enough to boast about the pot, it would still be here. What a fool I am. He went back to that forest looking for the Yakshas many, many times after that fateful day, but the magic was just gone. He never saw them again. He had to live the rest of his life knowing that he held unlimited fortune right in his hands and threw it all away just for a few minutes of clout in front of his neighbors.
Which brings us right back to you, the viewer, and this final provocative thought. We might not have magic pots that conjure up solid gold plates and delicious pulao, but we all have our own fortunes, don't we? Our relationships, our careers, our personal successes. Knowing how easily it can all just shatter when we let our ego take the wheel, how do you manage your own moments of pride? Do you protect your blessings quietly, or do you risk dropping them just to show the world what you have? Definitely something to think about the next time you feel that urge to boast. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope you found this breakdown as fascinating as I did.